robbery or sinking of sea vessels. The word pirate was borrowed in the 17th century from the Greeks to seek happiness, or from the ancient Greek attempt. It came into use around the 4th–3rd centuries BC. Before that, in the Eastern Mediterranean, they used the word robber, known to Homer. In this video, you will learn the history of piracy and who the pirates really were. Hello friends, I welcome you to my channel. But I like the translation of the word pirate from Greek, which means a person who is looking for happiness, or trying to find it all over the world. To do this, he just took a small ship and went to sea, so to speak, to distant lands? Well, tell me, who among us is not looking for happiness? Who does not want to be rich and happy? Therefore, I wish you all health, happiness, and prosperity. And of course, find a small chest for joy, inside which let there be everything you want. Well, and for me, for happiness, you need to become my friends. Subscribe and visit my channel as friends to watch videos and learn something new from the history of mankind. So today we will go to meet the pirates. Who were these people? Why were they called pirates? Who are they? Big robbers or noble and fair people? Let's figure it out. In addition to the capture and robbery of merchant and other ships in peacetime, piracy is also equated with an attack in wartime by warships, submarines on merchant ships in neutral waters. The definition of piracy and measures to combat it are regulated in the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea of 1982. In modern international law, piracy is a crime of an international nature. Piracy, in its original form of sea raids, appeared simultaneously with navigation and sea trade. Such raids were carried out by all coastal tribes that had mastered the basics of navigation. With the advent of civilization, the line between pirates and sea traders remained conditional for a long time. Seafarers traded where they did not feel strong enough to rob and capture. The most skilled seafarers of the ancient world, the Phoenicians, gained a particularly bad reputation. The poem Odyssey mentions Phoenician pirates who kidnapped people from the island of Syros and sold them into slavery. Ancient pirates, unlike the pirates of the New Age, attacked not so much ships as coastal villages and individual travelers, with the aim of capturing them and selling them into slavery, and later also began to demand ransom for noble captives. As trade and legal ties between countries and peoples developed, piracy began to be recognized as one of the most serious crimes, and attempts were made to jointly combat this phenomenon. The heyday of ancient piracy occurred during the era of anarchy caused by the civil wars in Rome, with the mountainous region of Cilicia with its fortresses serving as the pirates' base. The islands, especially Crete, also served as pirate bases. Roman piracy flourished especially after Mithridates VI Eupator entered into an alliance with the Cilician pirates, directed against Rome. During this era, the young Julius Caesar was among the victims of the pirates. The audacity of the pirates increased to the point that they even attacked the port of Rome, Ostia, and once captured 2 praetors along with their retinue and insignia. In 67 BC, Gnaeus Pompey the Great received extraordinary powers to combat pirates and a fleet of 500 ships. In preparation for the fight, he ordered the construction of ships similar to those of the pirates. Having divided the Mediterranean into 13 regions and sent a squadron to each region, Pompey drove the pirates into the mountain fortresses of Cilicia, which he then captured. Instead of the expected 3 years, it took Pompey 3 months to completely eliminate piracy in the Mediterranean. It resumed with the next round of civil wars, and this time the pirates were led by Pompey's son, Sextus Pompeius Magnus, who, after the murder of Caesar, fortified himself in Sicily and tried to blockade Italy. With the end of the civil wars, the sea became safe. pirates in Rome were executed, like land robbers, by crucifixion. In the Middle Ages, the most common method of pirate attack was boarding. The enemy ships would approach each other, usually side by side, grapple with grappling hooks and rigging, and the pirates would run and jump onto the enemy ship, supported by fire from the pirate ship. Jolly Roger or pirate flag. The most famous version of the pirate flag. The idea of sailing under your own pirate flag, quite dangerous and irrational, apparently appeared for the purpose of psychological influence on the crew of the attacked ship. For this purpose of intimidation, a blood-red flag was initially used, on which symbols of death were often depicted, a skeleton or just a skull. It is from this flag, according to the most common version, that the expression Jolly Roger comes. The English, having adopted it from the French filibusters of the West Indies, remade it in their own way. Then, when the origin was forgotten, an explanation arose from the cheerful grin of the skull depicted on the flag. Of course, pirates did not sail under the Jolly Roger, but used any other flags for camouflage. The banner with the skull and crossbones was raised before an attack in order to demoralize the crew prey. At first, the flag meant that there was an epidemic on board the ship. There were other flags with the symbolism of death, crossed sabers, death with a scythe, a skeleton with a cup. The presence of the symbol of the finiteness of being, or the hourglass on the flag, indicated that the pirates did not intend to take the enemy prisoner for ransom, and that a fight was expected during boarding. Piracy has long been widely represented in culture, both in a realistic and romanticized manner. In ancient times and the Middle Ages, this phenomenon was often viewed not so much as a crime, but as something ordinary and quite common, existing hand in hand with commercial shipping and the slave trade. Only the Age of Discovery and the subsequent division of the ocean by European powers, 15th to 17th centuries, awakened a new interest in piracy as a social phenomenon, giving rise to the demonized image of a sea robber who encroached on the interests of the state and the ruling elite. During the 18th to 19th centuries, many literary cliches were formed that were forever associated with the image of a pirate, for example, the Jolly Roger, a wooden leg, a parrot on the shoulder, and an eye patch. Historians note that eye patches were not common among pirates, but appeared as a characteristic attribute of their appearance, and their flags, along with Adam's head, depicted many other symbols. Most other common stereotypes about pirates, such as their exclusive love of rum or the custom of burying mythical treasures in the ground, are also not supported by sources and are products of modern popular culture. The legislation on piracy states that piracy on the high seas is the oldest crime for which the admissibility of universal jurisdiction was justified. Cicero was the first to describe pirates as enemies of the human race. Indeed, since the principle of mare liberum is universal freedom, its violation encroaches on the common interests of all mankind, giving rise to obligations ergo omnes, and can therefore be prosecuted everywhere. The general efforts aimed at combating piracy can also be explained by the exceptional role that maritime shipping played in that era. Acts of piracy violated its freedom on the high seas, creating a threat to the foundations of international trade. The main interest in legitimizing new instruments for combating piracy was with the great powers, and above all Great Britain.